Okay, I'm live. So this is an unscheduled video. Why not? Okay, so I've been making some progress on my shoot 'em up game that I'm using as the prototype and the kind of instructional manual for class. And so I figured I'd give myself a grade where I am so far, kind of show you how my design has been progressing and kind of where I would grade myself right now, just to give you some kind of indication where we're going on here. So for creativity, I'm giving myself an A because you guys helped me design this. And, so we'll call it creativity. It's an A. But let's talk specifically about the stuff in the game. Let's check it out and see what we got so far. Okay. So, all right. Here we are over in Unity. And let me go ahead and start the game playing. So first thing you'll notice is that there's no sound in the game. So points off for no sound in the game. All right. But there's a lot going on in the game. It's kind of exciting. It's got some good mechanics. It's got some good concepts. And woo, it is sort of a top-down shoot 'em up style game, a little bit, it's somewhere between an RPG style and a, Enter the Gungeon style, and love this sort of style game. We have a hero over here who is controlled. The hero has sort of typical WASD control, which is good. Feature that's missing: he's not animated. So the animations, there definitely are animations available, but it's not animated. You'll notice that some of the characters are animated and doing the right thing. Most of the NPCs are doing the right thing. The spiders, they have animations on them. The little orc or goblin rogues, whatever we want to call them, someone wanted bandits. That's the closest I could get in a hurry. You'll notice that the ghost, who's the ghost king, who's kind of guarding this thing down here, whatever it is, he's animated. The animations are a little bit weird when they're in kind of default mode, when they're not really hunting for the character. The animations are playing, but they're not really driven by the direction. So points off for that. But you will notice that when they do sense the player and when they're chasing the player, the animations are correct. Like, so, okay, now so the spider's going to try to follow me and go in that direction and so on. The spiders are a bit weird because the spiders do walk through obstacles. So there's points off for that one. The goblins or rogues, whatever you want to call them, they are cool. They wander around. They don't walk through things. They have actual boundaries. Oh, and we killed them all somehow. There's a bug in them in that when they bump into walls, they die from bumping into walls. That's so a little too much, too sensitive to collisions. That's a bad thing. So here you see a spider that's kind of walking through walls. Not a great thing. There are, let's see, but there's definitely some AI going on. I can hide behind things. Let's see, the spiders will stop following. You see if I get over here, hiding behind here, they can't see me. And also if I sneak up behind them, they also, there are walls here. They can't see through walls. And if they are facing in the wrong direction, I can sneak up behind them. This might be a little bit easier to see if I start the game over again. Let's do that. Let's start it over once again. You see there is a life meter. There's no score. Bad on me on the score piece of things. So that's potential points off. A lot of good, I think in here I got, some good mechanics, some good demonstrations of kind of things going on. Let me show you the power-ups that I got going on. So I have a life meter. It's the spiders, you can't kill the spiders. They're invulnerable, which is also points off for that. Whoops. So you'll see if I come out here and I start getting hit by the ectoblasts. Oop, I just killed the ghost because I ran into it. Okay, I just gained some health here. There's a little health power up. So you can see the health meter growing whenever I get that. There is a invulnerability and invisibility power up there. You'll notice as well. So the spiders, nobody can kind of see me, and my weapons become really, really fast while I'm invulnerable. That was kind of a weird thing. Arrows are shooting sideways. So life powers up, and then I also have this kind of weapon power up, which gives me a three-way. Someone, student wanted to have a three-way arrow kind of thing. So that works. So let's see, get that again. Whoa, there we go. There's that. And you'll notice the weapon is non-trivial, and in that you hold down, the longer you hold down the weapon, it sort of powers up. You can see the little arrow kind of draws back. And the further it draws back, the more powerful, the more fast it kind of shoots out. So if I wanted to shoot something that's moving really fast or far away, otherwise my arrows are just kind of like slow and steady kind of things. So all the obstacles are obstacles. Let's see. My health is down to 3/4. So let's go grab some health. Yeah, there's some more health. Health all the way here. There's some other obstacles. A bunch of things. So I've got 3 sort of power-ups. They don't appear randomly. So that's, it'd be better if they dropped randomly and disappeared after a while, sort of thing. So that would be worth some points again. Let's take a quick look also at the Ghost King. When the Ghost King is flying around, there's some kind of cool things that are going on. So the Ghost King shoots in multiple directions. He shoots at 90-degree angles. So he's very cool. So you'll see as he flies around, he's firing at sort of a constant rate, creating this sort of like dynamic maze. So I kind of like the Ghost King doing that. The one bad thing about the Ghost King is I guess somehow someone winds up destroying him. So there's some issues with regards to who collides with what and who dies as a result of what. So some points off for that. Now, I'm going to try to run in and grab this Invulnerability Gem here because I want you to see what happens to, whoops, let me get through there. If I grab that, you'll see that now the player dims out and is not, the player dims out and becomes invulnerable, so you can kind of push things away. That's the kind of cool thing. Ready? So things get automatically kind of pushed away from him, except for the spiders. The problem with the spiders is they don't have rigid body on them. That's doing the right thing, kind of stuff. That's why that there's some bugs, bugs in the spiders there. But the bullets that, or the ecto shots, the ecto blasts that the Ghost King can shoot, they are automatically repelled when I have my, let's see if I can go here. Okay, so I've got my invulnerability here, and you see how they bounce off. So it's kind of cool. Grab that again. If I stand right on there, I have to leave and come back. Whoop. So somehow, I don't know what. And while I'm invulnerable, also what happens is my arrows shoot a lot faster. So that's another kind of bonus thing. It's kind of weird. Sometimes they shoot sideways. I don't know why that is. That's kind of weird. Oh, I know why they shoot sideways. This was actually a bug, why they shoot so fast when you're invulnerable. Because what happens when you're invulnerable is it actually is using a area effector that pushes things away if they have a rigid body on them. And it so happens that the arrows, yep, they have a rigid body on them. So they are actually affected by that invulnerability here. And let's see, I want to get a bunch of them going here. I'm going to get that going. And let's see. So because that area effector's there, they actually also shoot really fast. I can push the arrows. So anyway, yeah, I give myself a, maybe I'm being generous. I don't know. I was going to say C- B+ because there's lots of things I could pick on this project, right? There's no sound. The spiders definitely feeling I mean, they're kind of cool. They're animated. They have some kind of random motion and kind of personality because of that. But clearly they're not, they're sort of invulnerable. It's not clear what the mechanic is with regards to what is damaging the player. So it's kind of like, hard to keep track. It'd be nice if the player itself had some kind of indicator on the health, because the heart up there is a little bit wonky. The way that the power-ups are currently working, they're kind of infinite power-ups. They're more like fountains of kind of stuff. That's sort of, I mean, it's a cop-out if I just said, okay, the actual requirements where that was supposed to happen is something is supposed to drop them. So that would be a good thing to have. So yeah, I was thinking, I don't know, maybe I'm being generous, say C plus B minus. But things like sound is missing. The spiders aren't quite doing their thing. The character isn't animated yet. All of the collisions are still a little bit wonky with regards to did I shoot the orcs or the goblins, whatever. They shouldn't die when they bump into the walls. I think that makes things too easy. Something is still kind of killing the Ghost King that shouldn't. I think the Ghost King should be more powerful. Maybe there should be some kind of hit point system for the Ghost King, since he's, after all, kind of the boss and generates, much of the challenge of the layer here. The things that are cool that I added is that the game does have repeatability. And despite the fact that things are very random, you could actually develop, this is a game that potentially has some speedrun kind of capabilities to it. If you watch, you'll see that it does, even though things look random, the two spiders there, spider, and so on, where they move. Okay, so one spider left, one spider came in, and another spider came up, and they kind of rotated around. Let's see if that happens again when I hit play. All right. So I think it should happen. Okay, I'm not going to touch anything. I'm not going to fire two spiders. One's going to come in. One's going to go out. This other one's going to come around. Yep. Okay, so we kind of circle. That's good, right? So how does that happen? How do I get the randomness all occurring but still have repeatability? So we have this cluster going on there. Let's start that again. See if that happens. Right, because that's what you want in a game, even though it appears to be random, and it has lots of replayability, because if you screw up, everything is going to get crazy after that. So to get the randomness, to take advantage of the randomness, I don't have to be like super precise, but still playable, right? Is I use a seed, right? Normally random numbers, they kind of seed themselves based off the system clock or something like that. So they're much closer to being really random. But what I do in here is I'm actually seeding the random number generator so that every time you play the game, it starts with that same seed and should be repeatable, even though it's random and things move all over the place and I'm not populating the world. They kind of be random. So this is kind of cool. So through play testing, I can test, is my design playable? Can you actually succeed? And I suspect that it is reasonably playable, but I didn't have to design everything down to the least bit of nitty gritty. So that's kind of a cool thing on my part. All right, so we had bonus was 3 types of enemies. Enemies have some different attacks. Obviously, there's a projectile attack from the Ghost King here. The others are more a melee style attack. Maybe I should have some kind of more smarts. Nothing really aims at the player, which would be cool. I think either the spiders should have some kind of, shoot a web maybe kind of thing. If there's distance there, maybe they should go for that. Or the orcs or goblins or rogues, bandits, whatever you want to call them, maybe they should have a thing. So that would be worth some points. But overall, it shows some reasonable programming skills. And it's kind of cool in that most of everything is prefabs. You'll see there's no real spiders in the first part, so it actually generates the spiders on the fly. Same thing with some of the goblins. I'm placing some of them around, and then I'm using in here, I have a game manager, which has a script on it. Come on, Unity, what's going on here? Game manager. The game manager has a script on it that populates the world with spiders and orcs, up to 20 of each. And it also makes sure that when it does generate something, it checks to see where it's going to place those things, and it makes sure that they do not collide, and they do not collide with the player. So you'll notice there's like anything that potentially has a collision, they do not appear on top of one another, and that's using this circle cast, which we'll talk about in class. So there's that, points for that. All right, so there's some scripting going on there. Circle casting to avoid, that's points. Other things, you will notice that the player, the hero here, does have a script on it. So the hero controller. And the hero controller is pretty straightforward in that, it sets velocity for motion. So that's how it moves around. And then it has uses the fire button for its attacks, right? Get button down to see, okay, when is the arrow, or when do you start drawing it back? So we have to show the drawback on that arrow there. And then we start timing it. We say, okay, we have to position that the arrow that's being drawn back. So that's while that button is held. And then we have the actual fire where we let go and we actually instantiate a new fired arrow, right? Then there's also the power-ups. Let's see. So if we enter a trigger that is for a dropped item, then we can see, okay, what is that dropped item? Is it a gem? Is it a heart? Is it a coin? Right? So if I want to allow for multiple ones, this might not be the best way to do it, directly looking at the name. Okay. So this one, code in here is, that's what I'm saying, B- kind of stuff. But it does generate, there's a coroutine in here. So we see a coroutine being used. That's the thing that fades it up. So, okay, I'm using a coroutine in here. I've got my gem, which has a fade on it. I have my heart, which adds back to the heart on the screen. I don't actually die when the heart goes all the way down. So that's points away from me on that one as well. So let's see. Then there's the coin. When you get the coin, this triple shot becomes true. And we then start to time down. There's a cooldown on that. So after 10 seconds, this triple shot goes away, right? So the gem invulnerability, that lasts, I think, 2 seconds. If I look at this routine, yep, the coroutine that's in here, where I'm actually using a coroutine, not there. Coroutine down here, this flasher. This is my coroutine. It yields for 0.1 seconds in between. So it like ramps up that fade. And then when it's done ramping, it inactivates my invulnerability object. So how did I do that invulnerability? I'm realizing I am now pointing at code that's not on the screen. So bad on me. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. So yeah, here's my, oof, wow, that was awful. Bad on me. So there's the update routine, there's the fire button, the 3 phases of firing, the initial press, the hold down, and the release. So that's how that behavior happens. Then there's the gem, the heart, and the coin, which are all dropped items. Right? The cooldown for the triple shot is to turn triple shot off after 10 seconds using invoke. The cooldown on the flasher, on the invulnerability uses a coroutine because that actually fades over the course of time. So that's why I use the coroutine there. So you see it goes from 0 to 2, that's 0 to 2 seconds, and it updates every 0.1 seconds in here. So I have this wait for seconds, and that's what cycles that color or the aliasing, or not the aliasing, the alpha channel in there. So we modify the color of the alpha in there. All right. So that's what's going on in there. So I have a script for that one. I have a script that generates, what I tried to show you is populating the dungeon. So I have these 2 prefabs, one for the orcs, that was their name, they're actually orcs, and the other one for the spiders. So we have up to 20 spiders, and we use up to 20 spiders, up to 20 orcs. And the big thing about them is that they use this circle cast to figure out, okay, would they intercept something in the scene if I placed something at that location? If I am intercepting something with circle cast, meaning I hit something, I didn't get a null, I got positive, then I don't actually instantiate something at that point. You'll notice I use a range of -5 to 5 here, which is kind of a cop out on my part. So it like hard codes where they could possibly be anywhere on the screen. And maybe this should be bigger now that I've increased the size of my screen. Anyway, all right. And then all of the behaviors of things other than the player character are actually done. I did them in Bolt. So, for example, they are prefabs. Let me go find my prefab folder. Come on. Prefabs. And for example, here is we will look at the orc. Okay, so the orc here has an animator on it, and it's the animator is pretty straightforward. It's got orc down, orc up, orc side, so we have left and right, and we have some parameters there for horizontal and vertical, and then direction, meaning okay, which one is taking precedent, right? This direction says, okay, this value is greater than that value. The absolute value of that value. So we rather than get kind of crazy carried away with the logic inside here, this conditions, I check to see which magnitude vertical or horizontal is greater than, because I don't think I can do a simple like absolute value there without getting kind of whacking here. So let's look at the bolt script for that, shall we? Okay, here's the orc. You'll notice there are actually two bolt flow machines, one for the walk towards, which is kind of the smart walking behavior, and the other one is a add random force. So this one, it's going to show up on the other screen, so I'm going to make sure to bring that down here. So add random force is basically, it's sort of a coroutine. You'll see here I have a start event, but then I said, okay, this starts as a coroutine, and it's a loop. So what it does is it says, okay, it waits for 2 seconds. It has a timer. So it waits for 2 seconds, and when that 2 seconds is up, it generates two random numbers. First one between -2 and 2, it becomes the x value for this vector. The second one becomes, also between -2 and 2 is the y value for that vector. And then it adds a force with that vector to the rigid body for whatever we're on. So that's the random. So every 2 seconds, we add a force in a random direction. And then we wait, we do it again, wait, we do it again. Okay, so that's the random walk piece of things. And the more involved one is this walk towards macro, much more involved. And this has the enemy AI in it. Usually I tend to do this in C#, but the idea behind it, you can kind of open this up. Some of the main things in here, the reason it's kind of crazy, is it involves two pieces. It's a two-part thing for making your enemies intelligent. First, you have to ask, can the enemy see? That's the most important thing. So can the enemy see the player? And so there's two aspects of seeing the player. It has to be facing in that direction, and it has to have a clear view of the player, right? So that's we kind of combine both of those. We use the dot product to see, is the player or is the character facing, is the character's view similar, is that vector similar to their movement vector, right? Or the the vector that's between the character and the player, right? We have one vector that's between the character and the player, and we have another vector that is the way that the character is looking, and we see, are those two vectors similar using the dot product? If they're similar enough, then we say, yes, they are. The character is seeing the player. And then we need to cast we need to use the physics system really to figure out, okay, are there any objects in the way? We use that. You can either use a line cast or a ray cast to say, cast out a line or cast out something that tells us, all right, can you get there from here? So that's the other piece, right? So we have this line cast up here, and we have the dot product down here, and a bunch of decisions that ultimately then go into, it has to say, okay, after you cast the line, do you actually get a collision? If so, is there an object? Is that object, the right thing? And if it all works out, in the end, there is a neat little function called move towards. And you give it a current position and a target position, and you say, okay, give me a delta in between the two. And this is move towards over the course of a second, right? So the maximum you can move over the course of 1 second. So say you can move one in a second, something like that. So that becomes our movement, and it gives us a new position, right? So this is our interp. We're using interpolation in here. Move towards is basically interpolating between 2 points to move you towards that. That becomes the new position of the enemy, and it does that if there's like, these are logic steps in here, right? So this is the one that says, okay, continue, go ahead and do the set if the dot product was greater than 0.5, for example. That means it can be seen and it generated that, then it kind of continues on here. And here, last but not least, is where it actually sets up the animation, tells the animation what to do. It decomposes that new movement vector, that new position, because it knows the last look. It says, okay, last look is where you're facing now, and it says, okay, give me a vertical component. Sorry, this is the vertical component, the horizontal component, and then this direction. And what direction basically says, it says, okay, is the absolute value of the vertical greater than the absolute value of the horizontal, or the other way around? Yeah. Is the greater value, is the A, which is the absolute value of X, the horizontal, is it more horizontal than vertical? Right. So if X is true, it's more horizontal. And that gets used in the animator state to show these things. So this takes care of that. It also, and I give myself, I wouldn't normally put it in here, but I was trying to be quick, is I actually put the collision. So anything that can move towards something can also collide with anything and will die if it bumps into anything, assuming it has a rigid body and a collider, right? If it doesn't have a collider, there's going to be no on collisions for it, right? The spiders don't have colliders, so which is why they don't collide with things. They don't die. So some work to be done there. So there you have it. I mean, there's probably some things I'm missing out on, but there's a little bit of bolt going on, so I could give myself some bonus points for that. It wasn't a requirement to use bolt. So the smarts and things. So yeah, the reason I'm saying, I give them, B minus C plus, despite the fact that things are missing, is that I did, kind of do things in took some initiative, did some bolt and some C sharp, lots of things in between. Maybe I'd be, maybe I'm being hard on myself here. B minus C plus. I don't know. If I got the audio in there, that would definitely bring it up. Polished it up a bit. It's got some good story, good concept, good mechanics. Anyway, that's just figure throw out there. This is an extra bonus video. Okay, onward and onward.